This podcast contains paid advertisements, but more on that later. Welcome to the O'Connor Bootstrap Podcast, where I discuss how you can grow your business by the bootstraps. This applies to all entrepreneurs, from the person just starting up to the one that is already well established. My goal is to help you grow. I am your host, Isaiah O'Connor. Okay, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to get the sponsor spot out of the way. Today's episode is going to be sponsored by Audible, like pretty much everyone lately. I've got to go work on that. Audible, audiobooks, you get to keep them. They're awesome. They're amazing. You can learn a lot from them. I've learned a lot from them. They're fun. They're relaxing. You can download a book. You get one book. You get 1 credit a month. When you sign up for the service, you get a credit a month. You get 2 Audible originals. You keep the book forever. You keep the Audible originals. If you get anything like a course on Audible, like the Great Courses, one of my favorite I listen to all the time is the Great Courses, the Vikings. I live in Norway. Take a course on the Vikings. You buy the course on Audible, and you get the PDF notes prepared by the professor, downloadable with the book. It's amazing. Go check them out. You get a free 30-day trial. You can use, if you can please help out, you can use my link in the description below, and that helps us out. Thank you. Anyway, now I don't have to think about that. So, when it comes to competition, you have to build your box first. Then you need to think outside the box to grow, to draw new customers, to defeat rivals, to outstrip the competition, etc. So you have to really think outside the box. But the problem comes is when you see your competitors succeeding and you try to copy their success. If you're just a copycat, it doesn't usually work out for you. Now, I've been listening to a podcast called Business Wars, and it's a great podcast. But I've been listening to all these business wars, and I've been learning a lot. Turns out that being a copycat is quite often doesn't work and or backfires. And it causes you more harm than good. I'm going to take, again, my favorite 2 businesses to play with. I mentioned before, I kind of started hinting at this last podcast, and that's Marvel and DC. Marvel came out with the Fantastic Four. The biggest difference with the Fantastic Four was it was a more mature comic book. It was more aimed at young adults and adults. The plot lines were more deep, they're more realistic. The heroes were more human, as in they had human problems, they had bills to pay, they had to worry about landlords and rent. And even the Fantastic Four, even though Reed Richards was wealthy, they still had a problem dynamic within the family, arguing, bickering. When they got their superpowers, they weren't, ooh, yay, we're superheroes now, let's go save the Earth. It was, oh crap, I've got superpowers, I'm changed, I'm a freak. What will I do? How will I survive? I'm a freak now, what's going on with me? It was scary to become a superhero. It was a lot more real. It was a lot more gritty. It was really a lot more down to earth. I've heard it put this way. DC has gods coming down to save humans, and then humans becoming godlike. What's the difference? Well, let's look at DC characters. Most of the DC characters, with maybe the exception of Batman, being my personal favorite, of the DC characters, it's Superman, supremely overpowered dude. The Flash, a little bit more down to earth, being a kind of a kid, but still he's super powered and he just goes super fast. Wonder Woman, a literal god or goddess coming down to help humans out, or demigod, whatever she is. Aquaman, super strong battle of the gods, godlike, powerful. And Aquaman, the last movie, they did a really good job of humanizing him too. So that was really cool. I like that. But that seemed to have been the process. Their characters was more of a superhuman people just taking care of business and not having a lot of real life stuff going on in their life. Whereas Marvel was real life stuff going off. Oh yeah, we got superpowers. So that was kind of the key difference. However, DC for years and still to a degree has never really got that. So when Marvel started selling more comics, and they were the upstart company with this new and out of the box Fantastic Four that no one had ever thought comic books were for kids and maybe young adults with some of the horror stuff and kind of raunchy, kind of for the time, sexual stuff and romance and drama and boring, stereotypical, cliche scripts, storylines. Boy meets girl, girl meets boy, boy and girl get married and have a life. Whatever comics, just very run of the mill, very boring, nothing special, nothing all that exciting. And the other ones were very focused on kids, kid friendly, keep the kids entertained, but not really anything else. So Marvel goes outside the box and comes out of nowhere and clocks DC and starts taking away market share. And what does DC do? They try to copy Marvel's success. They said, hey, look, Marvel has a lot of green on their cover. They use a lot of green or red or whatever color. And so they started printing all their comic books in green or red or whatever. And then Marvel started to use blue, just because. And then they go, wait, Marvel's characters are always talking on the cover art. Let's put characters talking on the cover art. So what did Marvel do? Just to spite them, because Stan Lee was like that, he changed all the comics to no speech bubbles at all on the comic covers. And DC even tried to show that they were the better company. And so they put a little code on the top, a little square thing with some sort of logo on there saying, hey, we're DC. They said, this way people will know they're just buying Marvel by mistake, thinking they're DC. So we're going to put this barcode, it'll look like a taxi cab checkerboard across the top and bottom of our comics so that they'll know they're not buying a DC comic when they're buying Marvel and they won't make the mistake. It backfired, and people saw that code and said, hey, it's DC. Let's avoid them. We'll go buy Marvel. So everything they did in this time was trying to copy Marvel's success, trying to find the secret formula that they were doing. And it didn't work. I believe, personally, as a Marvel fan, because my dad was a Marvel fan when he was a kid collecting comics, when all this was actually going on, was the characters were more real, they had troubles, they became superheroes reluctantly. Most of the time, it wasn't just, oh, I'm just happen to be a superhero, with the exception of Thor. But even Thor, if you read his origin story, didn't even know he was Thor for a while. Yeah. I mean, it's always been kind of the real life hits and then you're the hero. Kind of almost the Bruce Willis approach. If you haven't never noticed, Bruce Willis always plays the reluctant hero. He's the retired guy. He's the guy who gets dragged on and do one last mission, one last job, or he's just the guy sitting there and enjoying something on the beach or at a restaurant or whatever, and also something happens that, boom, now he has to save the day. And it's kind of like Marvel. You know, a lot of their storylines, a lot of their characters are all of a sudden something happened and now they have to save the day. So they're kind of dragged into it. Yeah, that's kind of their origin stories at least. So I don't know. I digress. Anyway, so DC tried to copy Marvel, didn't work. Blockbuster tried to copy Netscape, and matter of fact, they stole their website design, almost identically copied it when Blockbuster attempted to break into the online rental game. And if you haven't seen a Blockbuster around lately, then you'll know exactly how that went. Then IBM was fighting against, I can't think of the name, another company that's no longer in existence. And they were copying them at first, and they were failing miserably. When they stopped copying them and did something on their own, something different, then IBM started coming up on top, which is Univac. IBM versus Univac. Again, Univac was making computers that were electronic. IBM was making calculating machines, not data processing machines like they do now. IBM started making computers instead of mechanical data processing, electric data processing. They started making computers, and they tried to copy the I just blanked on the name again. Yeah. Anyway, they tried to copy the Univac success, didn't work. Then they decided to change their minds and make their own thing, and they took off and they did better. Time and time again, Nike and Adidas kept trying to copy Nike's success and they were failing, and then a new guy came and said, hey, let's stick to what we used to be about and become our own history, and let's do our own thing. Again, all these companies had their basic box, and then Nike and Adidas said, let's go back to our original thing, and we'll do us. Let's be who we are, and then they started successful. So here's kind of the takeaway here. The takeaway is this. While it's good to try to figure out what the fundamentals are in the box and seeing how someone succeeds, you might see a process that's good that you can implement to help streamline something, but you can't just try to copy someone else's success. It usually winds up in ultimate failure. Now, if you do copy someone's success, because I've heard different stories where they copied the idea and then they change it around into their own thing, that's the thing. You can take an idea, copy it, change it, adapt it, and then become successful. And that's the trick. You don't want to copy their success exactly correctly because it doesn't work. Matter of fact, Burger King versus McDonald's. Burger King had tried to copy McDonald's and add flame-broiled burgers, which tasted better, but the same basic, simple menu. And they were on the verge of bankruptcy for quite some time because it didn't just work. People just didn't buy it because they didn't have any hook, anything different. They made a copy of McDonald's, added something a little bit different, but nothing happened until they actually this one they kind of copied it and they were successful, but they copied another one that had to combine two things, add another burger, different burger type, and finally they copied and it worked. So that's a story where copying didn't work and did. They copied another burger, or they came up with their own version of someone else's burger to come up with the Whopper, and then they were successful. So just copying. And I am sorry, guys, if you hear buzzing in the background. I've been doing a podcast and not paying any attention to the landlord drilling outside. So I do apologize. I don't have time to go back and re-record right now. Anyway, so copying another company's success is not going to work usually. You can come up with, if they're doing a principle or something different, one main thing that's working differently, you can kind of find that. But it's a crapshoot. You never know what's going to happen on that. So the best thing is get the basic principles down. Maybe find the successful things such as what are they doing different, what are the processes, try to find fundamental things that you can copy that are good, and then be yourself, do your own thing, and do something different than your competition to set yourself apart. And that's the biggest thing is that's when you think outside the box. That's how you differentiate yourself in the business. If you're just a copy of everyone else, you're not going to succeed. You have to do something differently to draw those customers. If you're selling coffee in a country full of coffee shops like we are here, if you just start open a coffee shop and sell coffee, guess what? Everyone else is doing that too. You're not going to do it. You have to do something different. So again, you have to be yourself. You have to come with new strategies, different strategies, and use these different things that are you at the core that people like to grow and thrive and survive in business. So yeah, don't be copycats. You can try, but almost invariably it's going to fail. Almost every business I've heard of has not seen real success until they did their own thing. Oh, and by the way, Burger King, they copied another company, which actually no longer exists. They had a double burger or a quarter pound big burger. So Burger King copied them with their own version of a burger, and they did better. But then after a while, everyone had a big burger, and they weren't special anymore. And they were failing again and almost were bankrupt again. So even they had temporary success copying somebody else, but when they failed to innovate and do their own thing and come up with their own plan and become their own business, they almost went under. So there's my ideas on copycatting other people, copycatting other ideas. Yeah, there are some things that are going to become universal, things that you're going to be able to focus on that become fundamentals. Get those fundamentals, then go off and be yourself, and don't just be a copycat because it doesn't usually work out that well for you. You have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye bye. Okay, just as a reminder, we do offer a free 1/2 hour, no obligation consultation. All you need to do is go to our website and contact us through there, or you can contact me directly at my O'Connor Bootstrap podcast Facebook group or our Atheoz.com Facebook page as well. And if you would like to support this channel, the best thing you can do, of course, is to like and share and subscribe. That helps the most. Or you can check out one of our affiliate links. And of course, I do have a PayPal and a Patreon account, and the links will be in the description below. Thank you very much. You all have a good day. You have been listening to the O'Connor Bootstrap podcast and Atheoz Business Solutions podcast. For other podcasts, past episodes, and related blogs, please check out our website at www.atheoz.com. That is www.atheoz.com or theoz.com. Until next time, I've been your friendly neighborhood entrepreneur, Isaiah O'Connor.